Fantastic. Today, I want to do something that's a bit of an experiment. The topic is converting potential into real value for you as Toastmasters, as people, as residents of this planet. I'm going to take 3 different segments during the presentation today. Oops, wait, I have to set my timer because we're on a quick time. So let's see what we can do. I've got a timer set for 25 minutes. First, I want to talk about definitions. Then I want to talk about opportunities that involve potential. Then I want to talk about barriers. And then I want to remind everyone that everything that happens here today has to do with converting potential to something useful. So let's keep that in mind. Let's start with definitions. During my introduction, I had a question posed about people having reached their full potential. Has anyone in this room reached their full potential? Anybody? No. So when I ask a question like that, what do you recognize?
Opportunity.
Well, we'll get to that. If someone has reached their full potential, with air quotes all over the place, that sort of suggests that they've stopped learning and they've stopped growing. Is that not true? Okay. So when we pursue potential, the cheese always moves. It does. As you start converting your potential, whether it's soft skills with people or whether it's some other thing, you'll have new goals. Goals that were not something you could have anticipated 3 or 4 years ago, because now you have new skills that you can apply. So our first definition has to do with the word potential and how we think about it. We know that potential is what? Would anyone like to offer a definition? Yes?
Open-ended.
Open-ended. Excellent. That's a perfect quality of potential. And you're right, because I was hoping someone would say a few words about what they thought potential is, and I would say, but is it open-ended or not? But you got it. You let out. Perfect. So obviously, potential is open-ended. There's no end to it. Anyone who thinks they've reached their full potential, they're not on the same page I am. They're not on the same page we are, because this is our experience. We're going to talk about potential as something that's open-ended, something that converts the value of your life in a positive direction, and it's something that you get as you learn and grow in a direction that's achieving some potential. You'll have more. Is everyone on that same page? Anyone disagree? Oh, no, I forgot to do one check before we got started here. How many people in the audience do not like to raise their hand? Okay, all right, good. So that part's working. All right, so everyone's paying attention, fantastic. So we've got some definitions down. Do we need any other definitions to talk about potential and converting it? Yes, back in the back.
Target.
Target, all right. So I referred to the cheese before. And it turns out later today, I think Maria Alexandrova is going to be talking about goals and goal setting. So I'm not going to take away her thunder. But you're right, you need to have some goals. The other thing that happens with opportunity, someone said opportunity over here. When we talk about potential, you have goals that you know about, but sometimes the goals that affect you the most are when an opportunity you didn't anticipate drops in your lap or somehow gets on your radar. Is that not true? I'm here in California today because of one such opportunity. Someone said, well, you know, this Jim Kohli guy who used to talk with Excel spreadsheets and stuff, he now knows how to influence people with 27 different styles. He'd be the perfect guy to go somewhere where there's going to be conflict, and there's going to be weird technical things that need explanation, and you need to influence someone. And they said, oh, let's see if he wants to go to California from Wisconsin. There's oranges in the backyard. You all hardly spend any money or time removing snow or ice, so I've enjoyed that quite a bit. So let's reel it back into the real world. So we know that potential is something that has goals, it has targets, and that's important because I didn't want to come up here and talk about potential in a way that sounded like I'm going to urge you all to chase unicorns and put rainbows in your room and feel good about potential. I'm going to help you reduce it to real practice. So I said we're going to talk about definitions. We have an understanding of potential. We have an understanding of something about the nature of opportunities and something about the nature of goals, and there's a relationship. In order to move your potential forward, you're going to be achieving some goals and you're moving the cheese on your own, okay? So that's our model of how potential works. Now, let's talk about opportunities. Is anyone here a Toastmaster? You got a few? Okay, good. So lucky for you, you are already part of a program where there are opportunities galore. Now, I want to share with you a way to think about this. We've heard some conversations earlier today about the importance of a mentor. Pat Johnson has mentioned it, Todd has mentioned it, Michael has mentioned it. These are not coincidences. Being a mentor and having a mentor are great opportunities. Being a mentor or having a mentor are both opportunities. Much like being a mentor in a club is a great opportunity for you to learn from the mentoring experience as a mentor, you also get the skills and experience of whoever's mentoring you if you're a mentee. It's a wonderful thing. Don't disregard it because you think you've done mentoring before. Oh, I did my mentoring, I've got my credit, I'm moving on to the next thing. No. Every time you mentor someone, you learn something new. Mentoring is a lot like, oh, I don't know, receiving a speech. When you deliver a speech, do you always get an evaluation from the same person? No. You get the value of all the perspectives available to you. Being a mentor is a lot like that. You get the perspective of the person that you're mentoring, and if you're a mentee and you're switching mentors, you're getting other perspectives to help you with your goals and your objectives. So think about that. It's obvious in some ways. I'm going to mention club officers, but briefly, because I think the biggest opportunities that we have are the leadership roles that being a club officer prepares you for. How many area governors do we have in the room here? A few? How many past area governors do we have in the room? A lot. I would like one past area governor to share with us what the most valuable thing that they learned, what advanced their life the most in the area governor experience. Anyone? We had a few hands.
I'm a past division governor. Will that count?
Absolutely.
You want me to come up there?
Oh yeah, please.
Go,
Governor that changed your life.
Hi, I'm Darlene Elko from Southern Marin Toastmasters. I'm former Division C governor, and what I learned is the support factor. I supported my area governors and club presidents with informational emails and showing up at their meetings and their contests, and that's all I needed to do to take my division into select distinguished.
Wow. Thank you, Darlene. I'm not going to over-dramatize what the area governor experience is like, because everyone has a different area governor experience, everyone has a different division governor experience. If you've been an area governor once, you will learn different things if you do it a second time. I'm not saying that you should deprive other people of that opportunity, by the way. But please feel free to help out or coach someone who's an area governor who needs help. The same thing is true of the division governor. Think about this. As an area governor, you probably visit 4 to 6 clubs. You work with club officers from those 4 to 6 clubs. If you're the division governor, you work with 4 to 6 area governors typically. If you're the district leader, you're now working with all division governors. You might also be working with area governors. You might also be working with presidents and VPs education and other club officers. The thing that I'd like to demonstrate by this is that the more people that you have contact with, the more experiences that you have. The more experiences that you have, the more that you will retain in terms of your Toastmaster wisdom, and so much of your Toastmaster wisdom will apply to real-life situations. One of the most interesting things that happens in Toastmasters has to do with conflict resolution. It's kind of a hard subject to talk about, because when we talk about conflict resolution, we have to think about people behaving badly. But we're Toastmasters. We don't behave badly, not as far as we know. I'm not going to suggest that anyone here needs to suddenly go into conflict resolution as a life pursuit, because it's a tricky thing. You feel a little bit uncomfortable when you're in it and when you're helping other people with it, but it grows you every time you help people who are smart succeed and understand and respect the other people that previously were involved in the conflict. Where am I going with this? Within Toastmasters, we have a governance arrangement that starts at the club level. We have areas, we have division, we have district. I'm the region advisor. And even though I'm doing it like this isn't like I'm sitting on a throne somewhere. Michael never sat on a throne, at least not in public, as far as I know. Maybe at home, watching football. But the point of all this is that wherever you are in the stack, the more people you have experience with, that grows you as a leader. Think about leadership positions above and beyond the club, if you're in the club now. We heard that there are openings for area governors right now. If you've never been an area governor before, if you've been a club president or vice president of education, never been an area governor, be an area governor. No one, why not? Maybe Michael, has anyone ever died from being an area governor? He says no, and I believe him. To my knowledge, no one has ever died being an area governor before. I will warn you, you will not always be comfortable when you're the area governor. But you know what? You're a Toastmaster. You are about change. The reason you joined Toastmasters is because you thought within yourself, there's some opportunity here to be a better communicator and a better leader. Don't stop at the club level thinking you've completely fulfilled every single possibility for having achieved your potential, because that isn't the case. The area governor, being an area governor is the start of a trajectory and a new leadership track. That leadership track can take you as high as the president, or a past president someday, of Toastmasters International. Every president who's ever been president of Toastmasters International started somewhere. Every president, if said how many people were area governors, they would have their hand up. So think about the club for helping you with your communication skills. But when the rubber hits the road, it comes down to the leadership experience that you will get in Toastmasters. It's a very safe environment. You know what? I forgot to start my stopwatch. I need someone to give me five fingers up when there's 5 minutes left, because now we're going to talk about barriers. Okay? What are some? You'll be my 5.
You started about, I have 10. Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh, even better. So, so give me the green one. I've got 2 minutes left, okay? Thank you. And let's go with what the timing says in the program for me to finish. All right? Great, thank you. So let's talk about barriers. Who here has not yet ever been, okay, I'm going to ask someone to put themselves on the spot. Who here has not yet been an area governor? Would anyone volunteer? Okay. Of those of you who've had your hand up, and if you've been in Toastmasters for more than 2 years, and if you've been either a club president or a vice president of education, would you be brave to share with me what's keeping you from being an area governor? Thank you. We have a volunteer.
I'm Tony Flores from East Bay Toastmasters, and I was the oldest of 12 children in my family. I had lots of responsibility and no authority, and that's what I feel like area
I think you nailed it. The first time an area governor is conducting their area contest, that is when it feels exactly like that, isn't it? All right. So I acknowledge that. Totally do. Because the area governors will get recognized and they will be celebrated because they are where Toastmasters International really interfaces with the clubs. And it's a hard job. it's hard. You do have to help these clubs with their operations. You have to get them to promise to their distinguished club plan. And the best reward that you get sometimes are the leftover cookies from your contest. So you're right. So you do have to overcome a little bit. There are going to be some barriers like that. Now, I'm not going to say that that's a self-imposed barrier, but that's something that's like a comfort zone thing. You have to understand what we said before about how many people have died statistically as an area governor. And let that be your guide, and it'll help you with the discomfort a little bit, knowing that you're not going to die at the end. I promise. Then you'll go to Toastmaster heaven, because you'll be the first. Are there any other barriers that anyone can think of the people that I've already down-selected to? People who've been at Toastmasters more than 2 years, been a club president, have been a vice president of education, a person who could be a candidate for an area governor but have not done it. Besides that sense of a lot of responsibility, what other things are getting in the way? This is where someone says, time commitment. Did anyone say time commitment? Yeah. Okay. You're right, it is a time commitment. I very carefully chose a phrase in my introduction about Toastmasters being a full mental contact sport. This is one of those things, and it sort of gets into the area that Tony was in before, and that is it will take some investment of your time. You invest time in the club meeting because you believe it will improve your speaking skills. I want you to think about investing time as an area governor, division governor, any level of leadership, because it will not only improve your communication skills, but your leadership skills. I just realized we didn't talk about what's the definition of leadership skills. Let me digress for a moment. When I say leadership skills, I'm not talking about someone who is your manager, necessarily. I'm talking about the ability to apply wisdom and influence others to do the right thing. Does that work? Yes. Okay. In the club environment, there's no question there are some smart people, and there is some wisdom. Occasionally, you, if you're trying to learn leadership skills, will not benefit as much as you will from leadership experience that expose you to more opportunities. And when I say opportunities, I do mean that not every opportunity turns out happily, but everyone learns and grows from those opportunities, and that is really the important thing. Any other barriers? I do want to suggest something, which is kind of an interesting thing to suggest. How many of you have heard of the emotional quotient, or the book Emotional Quotient 2.0? A lot of people. Would anyone like to give me their best summary of what that book is about? Or would you like me to give my summary of what it is? Okay, all right. You can talk me into it. The book is kind of interesting. It helps people understand how they can manage themselves better, how they can influence other people's better, what am I saying? And it gives you a number of ways to break it down. So there are multiple dimensions to at least 4 different facets of how you interact with other people. Many bullets for each one. It's probably on the order of 15 to 20 bullets per facet of how you interact with other people. It has to do with how you manage yourself, how you manage impressions. The book itself, it's an interesting book, but there's a 4-page leaflet that summarizes everything you need to know, and it's fantastic. Now I think I mentioned before, something about conflict. The reason that I think the Emotional Quotient 2.0 has some value in the context of people who would like to learn to be better people as well as better leaders is it helps you understand things you might not be doing as well as you could. You might not be making the right impression. You might be making the wrong impression. I don't like to sound judgy, but there can definitely be wrong impressions, okay? I do recommend taking a look at the Emotional Quotient 2.0 material. Become conversant with what it says. Now, being conversant with it is not the same thing as applying it. One of the tricky things about this book, one of the reasons it's difficult to recommend, is because the people I think it appeals to the most are people who are already well on the track for the things it suggests. It's true. Those of you who are familiar with it, do you know what I'm talking about? It's like if I had a flyer that said that I'm a rabid baconista and everyone should eat bacon, the only reason I'd feel that way is because I think bacon is fantastic. But if you're not on that track, it won't appeal to you. And some of the stuff in this book is a little bit like that. So I'd like for you, if you're not familiar with it, get familiar with it. That will help remove some barriers that might be internal about what you think is important in life. And that's how it relates to this topic. Because there might be things in your head that are keeping you back that aren't necessarily related to the time commitment or the lack of authority when you have a lot of responsibility. It'll help you understand how you can influence other people to help you with some of that responsibility. And it might help you with respect to how you manage your time for other discretionary activities, to invest in things that are important with respect to the quality of your life. How am I doing on time? Are we close? Okay. Thank you. We've got 2 timers. This is fantastic. So now for next steps. I think I said we're going to cover 3 things, and if there was a 4th thing, if there was time, I would do a 4th thing. So we talked about definitions. We talked about meaningful identification of potential. And by that I mean real things that you can do that don't involve unicorns and rainbows. These are things you can do by hooking up with Gene Cunningham right after this presentation, if you like. Sign up to be an area governor. Let that be the start of your leadership trajectory in Toastmasters, and then you'll apply those skills in other places, not just in Toastmasters. And you become a little bit aware of the boundaries, the things that are preventing you from becoming an area governor or taking on some other roles of responsibilities that are important, that can grow you as a leader and make you a better human being. Now, what are the next steps? Well, we identified one. Talk to Gene Cunningham to be an area governor if you aren't. If you've already been an area governor, if you've already been a division governor, what can you do? We have a few PDGs in the room, do we not? Yes, yeah, of course. Leadership tracks do not end at the PDG level. You can be an RA, you can be a regional advisor such as myself. By the way, I joined Toastmasters in 2002, and that story I said about trying to convince people with spreadsheets, that's real life. That's how I operated 10 years ago. I don't do that kind of thing anymore. It's not an effective, influential style for most people. Do we have engineers in the room? A few? All right. Have you made the mistake of showing a spreadsheet to a bunch of people and said, and there you can see. This is why you need to buy this, or do it that other way. It's not persuasive. So it has changed me quite a bit. I think of myself as a poster boy for Toastmasters because I feel like I've changed. I'm in California because my life has changed. In a good way, to be clear. Absolutely good way. So next steps, CG. Think about opportunities in your workplace that you're aware of if you are in a workplace. If you are at home, think about ways you can win debates with your spouse. Oh, I did not say that. I did not say that. Facebook. Good. So Todd Henry knows that I do occasionally partake of Facebook. He's going to put some quotes out there. Thank you, Todd. But really, it's very important to understand leadership and influence in ways that aren't just related to management, not just related to being an area governor or anything else. How many people here have friends? Okay, got some holdouts here. How often do you get in a situation where you're having a conversation with your friends about choices to go for a party, places to go to see a movie, any number of other things? It's very simple. What to eat, where to go. Start to exercise some decisions, start to exercise some persuasive skills, learn from that experience. Don't insist on being right. You might not be. But these are places where you can apply real leadership skills. You're influencing other people. If you're organizing parties that involve a holiday of some kind and bringing people together, people remember that. This is, I mean, it sounds a little bit light, but it's actually kind of serious if you're bringing families together. I did a class reunion. I organized a class reunion a couple of years ago. The weirdest thing for me from that event was how it grew me as a person, dealing with people who I'm glad did not remember me very well from high school. I see someone else has gone through a similar experience. And all I can think is, thank God they either have amnesia or they've gotten past that. So yeah, these leadership skills, they matter. You can go through life doing the things you've always done, or you can pursue a path of leadership that will open up new opportunities for you, increase the quality of your life, and increase the quality of the life of the people around you. I hope you find this useful. I hope you think that it adds value. You know where to go, what to do next. No unicorns. Go out and be real leaders. Touch someone's life. Think of Tevis. There was a perfect example of a man making it all happen. He did everything. He's doing everything right. My name is Jim Kohli, by the way. If you need to contact me about any of these things, first check with Todd. No, seriously, feel free to contact me with any thoughts or questions you have about leadership opportunities in Toastmasters or anything I've said or done here today, or things that I can remember and vouch for. But I want to thank you for your time. I was very humbled for this opportunity to address you all. I hope you take this seriously. Take the idea of converting potential into real life opportunities. It will make your world a lot better. Thank you.